This week, Declan is almost fully returned to the Greater Trash community. NullSechnaya Sholupen undergo a leadership change. It's a bad week for faction supers. FI.RE edges towards full control of Tenerifis. Vindictive gets a major reshuffle. Pochven sees capitals brought to a fight, and the AT prize chips are announced. Hello pod people, I'm Frost, and this is your weekly EVE Online update. Welcome back. So before we get into the news for the week, as always, I have to announce my winners of the prize draw for the Scope Syndication skin, which for the last month has been the Vedmak. I actually have a new skin for this month already. I have the codes, so more on that later. But let's announce the winners. So originally I didn't have the winners from the 19th of October. These two have now come through, and that is Zarch Aldane and Deepal Day. And then from last week, that's the 26th of October episode, my winners are Galaris and Nokia Ringo. I can see what you've done there, Nokia. I like that. Right, so there you go, Galaris and Nokia Ringo. So congratulations to my 4 winners over the last couple of weeks. And as I said, new skin later on in the show. All right, so you know how it goes by now. I jump up into my box and I have Declan in front of me. I have my pen at the ready. And we're going to start with Declan. So as you know, Declan has been all about RHP being pushed out of Greater Trash community. Notice how I'm saying Greater Trash community rather than Greater Trash coalition. I have been corrected. Apparently I've been saying it wrong all these last few weeks. And it is actually GTC stands for Greater Trash community. So as you can see, the Greater Trash community have now completely removed RHP iHubs from Declan. So Volta finished off the constellation here. And if you remember last week, this whole constellation needed doing, and it looks like WeForm Blob decided to take that over for themselves. WeForm Blob being the kind of new bro organization of the Greater Trash community. So, and as well as that, a whole bunch of structures have been cleaned out as well. I have a list here, I think it's 8 Fortizars, 2 Satios, 4 Tataras, 3 Asbels, all belonging to RHP, all destroyed in the last week. There were a few more that happened before then. And that now just leaves us the Keepstar in E3UY-6. So this Keepstar belonged to RHP, and you know, I've been sort of speculating about what's going to happen to this. What has actually happened is that it's been put into free port, which means absolutely anybody can dock into it. And as expected, it has been reinforced. Now the armor reinforcement timer comes out at 19:02 at the time, about an hour or two before I'm recording this. It's at 19:02 on Monday, 1st of November. As I will do normally when things happen whilst I'm busy filming, I will see if I can just add a little comment in the edit just underneath here if I've got some news on what happened with that. If not, I'll wait till next week, and then in the future I'll obviously have my Twitch stream midweek, but we'll talk more about that later. All right, so there you go. So that's kind of pretty much what's going on with there. So all that remains is that Keepstar in E3UY-6, this kind of importance that's being addressed by Greater Trash community as they are reinforcing it. Also, I need to bring to your attention the RHP have brought out a video, a propaganda video. As you can see, they based it on 300. They take on the role of the Spartans. Greater Trash community obviously being represented by the Persians. It's a long video. It's about 5 minutes long. Now, we do know that they are on the move. And as you can see from some of the icons in here, we have some Red Menace Coalition icons pop up. So one can presume that they are possibly moving south. We do know they're on the move. And when I get full confirmation of that as to where the RHP actually go, I will be sure to let you know. So there you go. So yeah, go and take a look at that. As always, with all the videos that I show on the video, I always link them in the description below so you can go and check them out for yourself. Okay, so we'll leave that for now. We're not going to stay for the full 5 minutes, and we're going to move on. And the news we're going to move on to is to Tribute. So if we go over to Tribute quickly, I want to bring up NullSechnaya Sholupen. So NullSechnaya Sholupen have got Sov up here. Part of Winter Coalition, and they've had a change of leadership. So Anur, who was their leader, has now joined Snuffed Out. Now, rather than the corp moving, which is normally what happens when you kind of have these leadership changes, that the actual corp that the leader is in goes with the leader. But no, the leader and a character called Ole Miss, who is an FC as well, for NullSechnaya Sholupen, have both left to go to Snuffed Out. And so they've left the corporation behind. Now, I don't know all the background on this, and there's lots of stuff on Reddit that you can look up for all the drama and he said, she said, and all that kind of stuff. But as I'm aware that it's Pittsburgh, who is part of Original Sinners. If you remember, Original Sinners were part of NC Dot, left NC Dot just before the war between the Papi and the Imperium ended, and went to join NullSechnaya Sholupen. So there you go, that's kind of like the movements that have been happening in that place. So Pittsburgh is now kind of, as I understand, in charge. And he shows up a little bit later on in Pochven, and I'll talk about that much later on in the show. So there you go, so that's kind of what's going on with NullSechnaya Sholupen. Now, we're going to actually jump all the way down to Ole Miss. Now, and if you know my videos and you've seen them quite regularly, I normally say nothing ever happens in Ole Miss. Well, this time something did happen in Ole Miss, and it's a very sad story, and it happened in Lasso, or L-AS00. And unfortunately, if you remember from about 6 weeks ago, there was a pilot I talked about who, for the hell of it, dropped a Moloch, which is right here, and a Vanquisher, which is right here, which was the total value of 1.6 trillion ISK. Now, this same pilot, unfortunately, in the system of L-AS00, lost a Revenant, which is shown here at 265. Also, do note all of the purple, lots and lots of purple, always purple on this pilot's ships. So there was a Revenant and there was a Vendetta, not that Vendetta, this Vendetta, there we go. And you can see once again, plenty of purple on there. Let me see if I can, there we go. So all the purple mods. But the thing is that unlike last time where the pilot dropped them in because he could and just took them into a fight because he felt like it, this time he was actually AWOXed by his friends, hence the title of the show of Who Can You Trust? So he went out with Really Strong Alliance to do some hunting. This is a hunting fit with hyperspatials on the rigs on two of his faction supercarriers, and he got shot by Really Strong Alliance who were with him. So he got shot by his own fleet. So that now puts his losses at over 2 trillion ISK, but then I suppose if you lost 1.6, you know, what's another $500 billion, right? So, but what I thought was quite funny was that top damage was by Meanie, which I thought was the most appropriate name you could have for an AWOX. There you go, Meanie on both of them. So there you go. So hopefully this pilot has plenty of more ISK and will be able to get himself some more faction super capitals and bring us to the fights and bring me some more news. So there you go. So something actually happened in Ole Miss, and not your typical thing. Now, there was also another faction supercarrier that died. There was a Vendetta that was destroyed. As you can see from the fit, and also the fact that it was destroyed in Iridia. Iridia is the low-sec system next to Delve. It's quite possible that this was bought from somebody who couldn't be bothered to extract it after the Papi War, put it up on sale, and then this individual would try to then bring it out and take it home. Now, I actually have a video of this. The video is actually really long. It's 17 minutes long, but it actually doesn't kick in until 12 minutes in, which kind of shows the time it takes to hunt. You know, there's just lots and lots of scanning for about 12 minutes, and then suddenly this Vendetta pops up on the scan, and they try and warp to it, and what ends up is they end up chasing this Vendetta around. So if I remember correctly, it jumped. So they found it in Shikazi, then you can see it right here. It warps away, it warps off to the van gate. Then it looks like instead of jumping through the gate, it actually then jumped to, what was the name of the system? Yahaba. And then they had scanners in Yahaba. They were able to scan it down and then point it and then kill it. So you can see all of that in this video. Once again, that's linked in the description below. So there you go. So yeah, not the greatest week for faction supercarriers. So then what we're going to do, actually, let's do the giveaway right now. So I think this is a good time to do the giveaway. So I can now announce that my new skin for this month is the Healer Gila. It's not called the Healer, it's not called the Gila, it's the Healer Gila, because no one is ever happy with whichever name you use. So I always call it the Healer Gila. So once again, lovely looking skin. You know what the scope's indication skin looks like right now, as of now. And I think the key word for this week should be trust. So there you go, T-R-U-S-T. So it could be trust, trusting, any forms of trust that you can think of. And as always, be sure to put a comment down below in the YouTube comments using the word trust. Be creative, be inventive. It's always nice to read all the various ideas that you come up with, and funny comments too. And then the cutoff date is 1800 UTC on Friday 12th of November. Is that right? Friday 12th? No, that's wrong. Friday 5th of November. Okay, so the cutoff date, let me just change my notes as well, that would help. So the cutoff date is 1800 UTC on Friday the 5th of November 2021. All right, so good luck with that. And always, obviously, do check your YouTube comments for a reply from me over the weekend. I normally reply on the Friday night, sometimes the Saturday morning. So check to see if I've liked and heart your comment, and I've replied to you, and then you can contact me on my Discord to claim your prize. All right, I've spoken long enough about that. Let's jump back to .lan and go back into my box. All right, so we're in Ole Miss, so we're going to move over to Tenerifis. So with Tenerifis, if Tenerifis comes up, there we go, it woke up. All right, so if you remember last week, we talked about the fact that T2-V8F was taken back by XIX. And then I was speculating on whether 3L3N-X would be flipped, as that was the kind of the last bastion, is the words that I used, I remember now, for Dread Bomb, so Wrecking Crew as a whole, from having a presence in Tenerifis. And Flying Dangerous have been busy, and they have actually flipped that iHub. And I would imagine that the structures that are in there will be hit at some point. I think there's a Fortizar in there for definite that belongs to Dread Bomb. So I'm going to hazard a guess here and say that Flying Dangerous are looking to take 2 constellations rather than the single one with 2 systems that they had in Pure Blind, because if you remember, Brave have now taken those systems away from Figgle, Flying Dangerous. And in fact, I kind of skipped over Pure Blind, but Pure Blind is really settled now. It's kind of like everything is in place. So anyway, Flying Dangerous are now in Tenerifis, and it looks like they're going to be going for these 2 constellations. Then we have One Crew. Now, One Crew, which are highlighted here in blue, are part of Red Menace Coalition. And if you remember, Red Menace Coalition live in Impasse. And so they obviously projected a little bit here into Tenerifis, but we can see that Lollipop Monopoly over here, have got this constellation. So I'm wondering whether they're going to move in this direction and maybe take that constellation for themselves. If they do, then we will see the whole of Tenerifis then being under the control of FI.RE Coalition, rather than just half of it. The main reason is XIX have no interest in kind of going to the west, as there's kind of a cutoff point, which if I remember correctly is around there, where you can't easily jump capitals between the left side and the right side. And so it needs a completely separate group. And so basically Flying Dangerous, Celestial Empire, Lollipop Monopoly, who are in Immensia, it looks like they're going to be kind of moving in to Tenerifis. Also, it's worth mentioning as well that Flying Dangerous are actually staging with Celestial Empire. So they're kind of like a triple group there of Flying Dangerous, Lollipop Monopoly, and Celestial Empire. So I think that's about it for Tenerifis. Yep. So then what we'll do is we'll go into Immensia quickly. Let's close that. There we go. Where's Immensia? There we go. Wow, my .lan's really lagging today. I wonder what's going on. There we go. All right, so first thing I need to do is I completely butchered Elbus's name last week, I think. Their name is Legitimate Business. I think I called them Legitimate Interest. So no, it is Legitimate Business, and as I mentioned, they're in good relations with Cosmic Accord, who are right next door in the same constellation. So also I commented about minions, and I wondered about the minions. Now the minions aren't affiliated to FI.RE in any way. I kind of did a little bit of investigating, and they've had a non-invasion pact with FI.RE Coalition, and it looks like that's going to stand at least until the end of the AT. The minions are heavily involved in the Alliance tournament, and so I think FI.RE Coalition are going, well, fine, we're not going to bother you and you're not going to bother us until the Alliance tournament is over, and then we'll review the situation. So that's kind of what's going on with the minions. And then once again, already replaced are now kind of looks like they're going to take at least all of these constellations and possibly this one down here as well. So already replaced, getting a lot of territory there. Black Rose are up in the top left-hand corner. And so there's very few systems left now that aren't under the control of FI.RE Coalition. FI.RE Coalition have really been expanding since the end of the war between Papi and the Imperium. A lot of groups have gone over to FI.RE after that war. And their numbers have really swelled, both in terms of membership, but also in terms of the number of corporations and alliances that are becoming part of that coalition. And they are definitely becoming one of the big major groups now in EVE. And okay, yeah, so that's Immensia. I was kind of just lost the plot there for a moment, proper blonde moment. Right, so let's go to Featherbollis. All right, so in Featherbollis, I want to talk about Vindictive. So Vindictive has some territory here, and they also have some territory in period basis. Now, what I want to talk about with Vindictive is that they have this massive crash in numbers, and then it's suddenly picked up again. Now, this is down to primarily, if you remember, I talked about last week, Out of the Blue. Now, Out of the Blue were part of an alliance that was part of Greater Trash Community. They left on good terms with Greater Trash Community to go and join PIBC. PIBC being, let me see if I can bring up all of my my coalition list and make sure I get this right. PIBC is Army of Mango, Evictus and Vindictive. And so they have now joined PIBC as the mercenary group of PIBC. Now, a lot of the members of Vindictive, primarily those in the EU and US time zones, EU and US time zone, have gone into Wallet Tanked, and then Wallet Tanked has then joined Out of the Blue. Then the Chinese time zone players, which I think are mostly, oops, let me do that again, Selenium and Spectral Hex, have gone over to Army of Mango. And then, which is, now this is where the bizarre bit comes along, which is where you saw that little dip back up again. And that is, you got Red Scarf Humpback, Unilan and Rheinmetall Group, all left Vindictive and then all rejoined Vindictive. So not quite sure what went on there. Maybe they thought they were going to go somewhere and then decided, you know what, we're going to keep Vindictive, and maybe some new leadership has come and stood up and said, like, I'm going to take over, and Vindictive is going to live on. So there we go. So we'll see what happens with Vindictive, and I'll try and find out what's happening with leadership and stuff, and what its plans are for the future. So I think that's about it with regards to Vindictive, yeah. Also with Out of the Blue, I can just show you very quickly, there you go. So you can see that Wallet Tank have joined Out of the Blue, and then if we look at the overview, you can see the kind of it's a little bit less noted there because they've got quite good numbers, but there's a jump of about 150, 200, I would say, that have gone from Vindictive into Out of the Blue. Right, then there was a battle that happened in AZN-2 in Featherbollis, and at the moment FI.RE Coalition don't seem to be heavily attacking Evictus. They have taken a bit of, I think they've taken one more iHub in Featherbollis, but that's about it. But there's kind of been more kind of random fights going on. And what's interesting with this is that obviously on one side we see RHP, which is basically PIBC and Wrecking Crew and Red Menace Coalition all kind of working together towards a common goal. In this case, they were attacking an Astra house that belonged to friends of FI.RE Coalition, or to a friend of an individual in FI.RE Coalition. And so FI.RE decided to come out and help out, which is the Team B in the middle. And then over on the right, we saw Pandemic Horde show up just a third party. And they've done this a couple of times now. So whilst we do see Pandemic Horde and Test and sort of PanFam and X-Legacy, or Test Alliance, please ignore rather than Legacy now, because there is no Legacy. You see them kind of side with FI.RE when it comes to kind of invasion stuff and sov warfare and things like that, things that matter to the security of the borders of FI.RE Coalition. But when it's just kind of random fights, then you'll see Pandemic Horde third party. And so yeah, the battle report was pretty good for FI.RE. So FI.RE Coalition's FCs really seem to be kind of stepping up, and they obviously kind of won the IS war there pretty good, considering they were fairly even numbers. And then obviously we had Pandemic Horde just kind of throwing into the mix as well. And then after that, we're going to jump over to Esoteria. There was a fight that happened in Esoteria as well. Also, by the way, for this fight, I do have a video right here. So this is a fight that involved all these various groups, FI Coalition versus RHP with Pandemic Horde. I thought you might want to be interested in seeing this as well, because this is from the view of a dual boxing Logi pilot. So you don't always see that. You normally see these videos from someone in a DPS ship or in a scout ship. But this time you're seeing it from the perspective of a scimitar pilot. So yeah, interesting, and once again, linked in the description below. All right, so the other fight that happened was in Fethabolis and Esoteria. And once again, what was happened this time? This was a fast kick Astra house. So Army of Mango or PIBC constant enemies with Tenerifis and Fast Kick are part of that group. Tenerifis being the Russian-speaking groups that are based out of Stain, as the name implies. And so they basically came along to kill this Astra. Then Dread Bomb and Red Menace Coalition, or sorry, Wrecking Crew and Red Menace Coalition then showed up to get involved in that fight as well. So these two groups were kind of together. Then we had FI.RE Coalition showed up to help the Astra House owner. And then on the right, once again, Pandemic Horde showed up just to add something to the mix. And this worked out very, very well for FI.RE Coalition. They were actually underhanded, and they did extremely well once again. So I actually know Tafos personally, and his SCing skills definitely seem to be stepping up, and he's doing very, very well. It has to be stated. So anyway, main thing is there's kind of like fight in all directions, lots of stuff happening just for the sake of the fights. And I think, you know, FI.RE Coalition are very much an aggressive group when it comes to wanting fights. They're not happy just to sit and rat. They want to go out there and get fights at any opportunity they can. And so they will help any friends they can when that comes up. So then after that, we're going to go over to Cloudring quickly. So if you remember last week, the big kind of news with Cloudring was that the initiative took the iHub of B-DBYQ. I think they may have taken another iHub during the week, but it got flipped back. I'm not certain about that, but that's what I heard, I think. But the main thing that we're seeing here is it seems more that the initiative just wanted to get this system so that they have kind of that foothold in Cloudring should they need it, so they can then get more content with Try when they want to. And in fact, the only fight I think that happened was actually when I was filming last week. If I can find the battle report. Was it this one? No, that's not that one. There we go. There was one, there we go, over the jump gate in O-ZXUV. O-ZXUV being the staging system for Triumvirate, and the jump gate being kind of the reinforcement point for Greater Trash Community. I almost got it wrong. So for them to be able to come and help, they come through the jump gate. Also, last week, I said that CVA were not on the same side as Triumvirate, and that is not the case. They actually ended up on the wrong side of the kill board, probably because some of the Triumvirate pilots got some bomb damage during a bomb run. But they're actually on good terms with Triumvirate and have been for a while, and so that's one correction that I needed to make there. So there you go. That covers Cloudring. Then you saw the battle report very briefly there. Pochven. So I don't really talk about Pochven very much, primarily because I kind of talk about the big fights and the kind of the meta side of it. Pochven is much more about small gang, and because there's so many individual little fights, and it's be very difficult for me to cover them all. But occasionally you kind of get these big fights in Pochven. This one happened on the night of Halloween in the system of Nalvula, and it is noted for a couple of reasons. So first up, kind of NullSechnaya Sholupen initiated this. And this happened after Anua left, and I think Pittsburgh wanted to make his presence known in NSH. And so they reinforced the Keepstar that belonged to Rogue Capel. And so news got out of this, and basically a fight was going to be had. And as you can see, a lot of people showed up. Now, do not blame me if some of these are not in the right place, okay? Because there is no way that I can tell you for certain that everybody is on the right side for this one. Some of these groups I haven't even heard of. I know most of them, but not all of them. I mean, Cockslap, for example, I'm not even going to ask about that one, or Southern Style. But anyway, I think I'm blushing now. Okay, so the thing that was important about this was not only all the groups that came, so you had kind of Rokapel and the Pochven kind of roleplay groups in here on the left, as well as Greater Trash Community showed up on the left-hand side, on this side. And then on the right side, we had Fraternity, NSH, NC Dot, and FI Coalition, the kind of the main groups that showed up on the right side. For some reason, Stribble Clade, for example, is on this side. I'd imagine they were on that side. There we go. So anyway, the main thing to be noted with this was that in defending the Fortizar, they used Ravens, which is kind of a standard doctrine to use for that. But they brought out some faxes to support these Ravens. Now, the thing to be noted with Pochven is there are no structures that allow you to build. You cannot anchor structures, so you can't build capitals in Pochven, and you can't jump capitals into Pochven. So this means that these capitals, oh, so there's a dread there as well. These capitals will not be replaced. This is a one-time thing. So as and when these capitals die, they can't be replaced. Now, I still believe there's 1 or 2 titans that are still in Pochven that are left over from NullSec when some NullSec areas were pulled into Pochven last year. But I don't know that for certain. We'll have to see if they pop up. But anyway, it is a big deal when these capitals come out to play in Pochven. So good fights from all sides, apparently. Everybody was very happy with that. And on top of that, the Fortizar was saved. So the Fortizar survived for another day and for some more content in the future. So hopefully Nalvula will become a regular, the Nalvula Fortizar will become a regular occurrence for these fights. There we go. So also the other thing to be aware of this week is that obviously we've got the 90% drop rate. So this has been a great week for ganking freighter pilots and for destroying things like ship maintenance arrays, etc. And you can see that this, for example, this one single ship maintenance array got a 10 billion drop because 90% of it dropped out because of the event that's happening, the Halloween event that's happening at the moment. So there you go. So a whole bunch of stuff. Nothing major. There's always an orca though. So that's pretty cool. So anyway, that's just wanted to bring that to your attention so you're aware of that. And then I'm going to finish off with a couple of things. So, oh yeah, obviously I talk about the ratting or the whaling every week. Very few raw calls this week, just 10 raw calls, 4 ratting supers. That's normally kind of the usual number. So a little bit quieter on the whaling front. I think maybe everyone's been doing the events and things like that. I'm not quite sure. But so just to bring that to your attention as well. And then I want to talk about the Alliance Tournament prize ships. So for those of you not familiar with the Alliance Tournament is taking place next weekend. That's on the 6th of November, 6th and 7th of November, and then it'll be on the 13th and 14th of November, so it's over 2 weekends. And the prize ships have been announced. So there's slight differences in the way they're handed out this time round, but the prize ships are the Raiju, I don't know, and the Laylaps. I can say the Laylaps, but the Raiju, I'm going to go with Raiju. So the Raiju is basically if a Gamma and a Keres had a child. So from the Gamma's point of view, you get the bonus to missiles and points and scrams, and then from the Keres point of view, you get a bonus to sensor damps and points and scrams. So very much a really good light tackle ship, really powerful light tackle ship that can scram, point, do damage, and also be able to damp so it doesn't take any damage in return. So that's pretty amazing. And then this one, I mean, I love the Orthrus anyway. The Laylaps would be if an Orthrus and Onyx had a child. So what you're getting is you're getting the Orthrus speed and the Orthrus missile bonus. And then from the Onyx, it's getting the heavy interdictor capability and the big tank as well. And I think that is going to be an awesome ship. Whether it actually gets used in fleets or not, I can see the Raiju being more used in small gang. The Laylaps is more suited to kind of big fleets, although I can imagine kind of the hot drops and stuff, you know, from people like You Are Dunked and Hidden Leaf, people like that, you know, and maybe Stuffed Out as well, would probably use these. So when it comes to the handouts, there's actually a lot of them being handed out. There's 280 ships being handed out, 140 Laylaps, 140 Raiju, and then depending on whether you finish in the top 16 or you come first, decides how many you actually get for your team. So there you go. So that's basically what's going down with the prize ships, and they are cool looking ships, I have to say. They look really amazing in terms of their abilities. There's full stats haven't been released yet, but hopefully we'll get those soon. Right, then obviously EVE London is happening on the 6th of November. I will be there. Hopefully by the time the EVE Alliance tournament starts. So I look forward to meeting you there if you're coming to EVE London. And then I need to announce, I announced last week that I'm going to be starting Twitch and doing a Twitch show. I have decided probably the best time to do it when I don't clash with anybody else is 2000 UTC on a Friday, and the first one will be on Friday the 12th of November, so that's just before the second weekend of the Alliance tournament. And the plan is to generate questions from all the viewers, and also maybe to invite guests on when I can from time to time, get you to ask questions and kind of get everybody involved. So that's the plan for that. So note that in your diaries, 2000 UTC on Friday the 12th of November. Right, that's it from me. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications. Mention me in your Corp Discords, your Alliance Discords. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you being here. And until the next one. All right, bye.